Well, hello again. And right from the off, I'd like to apologize because I know this video is going to be more of the rough and ready variety. Not that any of my previous videos are particularly slick, but this one is going to be even less so. And that is because I filmed what I was doing, but didn't really think I would succeed, and therefore I wasn't sure I was going to make a video out of it. But, you know, success is subjective, and I quite like what I ended up with. So I decided to go ahead and make this video. Ever since I made the Mokune Gane, I've been interested in what kind of jewelry I could make with it. It suddenly started appealing to me, and I've always liked rings. So I started watching loads of videos, and that gave me the idea to want to make a ring. And because of my father-in-law, who comes from Arizona, I've always loved turquoise rings, or turquoise inlaid rings. So I decided to make one. Anyway, I hope you find it interesting. Ultimately, if you do, please subscribe, comment, and very importantly to me as well, please like if you like it. All right, thank you so much. So the first thing to do really was to take the silver sheet and work out the dimensions that I needed to make the ring. And that's a very simple formula, which I will put below in the description. And as you may already know from some of my other videos, my jeweler's saw skills are absolutely abominable. So I knew there was going to be quite a lot of filing to do. But actually, annealed silver like this, sterling silver, is very pleasant to work with. It files easily, it saws easily. I was quite impressed by it. So anyway, I've got a fairly straight piece, and the next thing to do is to turn it into a ring. And for that, you put it around a mandrel. This one is stainless steel, which I like because it means I feel quite comfortable hammering on it. This is a little bit tricky, not to somebody who knows what they're doing, but somebody like me. And then you turn it into a sort of D shape so that you're going to deal with a flat edge for the time being, and then turn it into a ring again later. So you want this to fit as snugly as possible, because for a good solder joint, you have to have it very flush. And so what you do is you get it very close together, and then use the jeweler's saw to make the joints extremely even and similar. And that's where I am now. So now it's time to solder. So the first thing to do is to apply a good amount of flux onto the joint, and then little pieces of hard solder. You want to go from hard to soft, so that every time you solder another piece, you're not melting the first piece that you soldered. As you can see, this is really quite tricky, and with my amazing dexterity, I struggled rather. But eventually it's a question of getting it into the right position, and then getting the heat onto it and trying to even it evenly. This stage is very common from all the videos I've watched, for the solder to jump when the metal starts getting hot. And if that's the case, just put it back on, take your time, be patient. This is one of the great things I've learned doing this, is just to be very patient. It brings me back to sort of working on making clock pieces and things like that. Just take it easy. And as you can see, my level of patience is one piece dropped out, and I thought, heck, I've got enough there, so I'll just keep going with it. Anyway, it turned out to be plenty of solder, and you will see eventually the silver changes color, and very slowly the silver solder starts to melt, and then there's a very magical moment where it melts, and then you suddenly go, it goes into the flux joint, it fills it, and seems to vanish. It's maybe very childish of me, but I still find that quite amazing to see. And here you can see it happen now. There it goes. So keep a bit of heat on it for a couple of seconds afterwards, and you have a soldered joint. Now, I'm very cross with myself because I didn't film a vital part of this. I mean, actually I did film it, but I totally messed up the focus. After you've soldered, you quench the ring in water, and then you put in some pickling solution which will take off all the oxides. Anyway, I then made it round on the mandrel again, and then started sanding on various grits. I think it's 180 and 260, so that the edges are nice and clean. Now we're on to making the forming the the silver wire that is going to make the edges of the ring. This stuff is tricky to work with. There's no two ways about it. It's got a mind of its own. But once you've got it straight and you saw it into the right length, use exactly the same formula as I'm going to put in the description that I used to make the ring blank. And again, you want the edges to be very clean and square to each other. And the process is basically exactly as it will be to form the ring. I put it around the mandrel again. Be careful because it wants to play. And this is a trick I learned from one of the videos I watched actually, is to not use the tapered part of the mandrel, but using the handle of the mandrel which is not tapered. And again, you're going to form this into a D like before and get the edges as close together, and then do the second one. And here I'm doing the second one. There's two of them. And you're going to go through the same process again of forming the D and then getting it as tight as you can when it's in the D shape, so that the ends join very, very carefully. And then using the piercing saw again, the jeweler's saw, you want to saw the joint so that it's as square as is humanly possible. And obviously I'm doing a bit of filing as well, which is important. So now we come to soldering the piece, and here again, flux, plenty of flux, and here I'm putting the solder again it's hard solder because I'm not going to affect any other thing while I'm soldering these. So I put a little piece of hard silver solder underneath the joint, and I'm slowly going to heat the pieces until the solder melts and flows into the gap. So you can see with this size of metal it happens pretty quickly. And again, once this is done, it gets quenched again in water. It goes in the pickling solution to get rid of the oxides, and then it will be reshaped on the mandrel, which I have to apologize. This time I didn't mess it up. I forgot to film. So now it's a question of placing the wire onto the blank. Now it's shaped on the mandrel and you have to take quite a lot of time because it really wants to be a tight fit. So I took a great deal of care hammering it on the mandrel and then moving it to the thicker part of the mandrel. You move it up slowly, hammer, turn it round because of the taper of the mandrel, hammer it some more, push it down a bit more until and take it off, fit it onto the ring until you're absolutely satisfied that it's a really, really snug fit. Be careful not to go too far because you can't, well at least I don't know how to make it smaller again, short of cutting a piece off and starting all over again. So I took great care to make sure that it fitted very, very snugly onto the ring blank. And again you have the magic of the weld where suddenly all the solder goes into the joint. And then the other side again. This one I was a little less successful with. I made it a tiny bit too big, but I got away with it. It just took a little bit of adjusting and careful handling, but I did manage to get it all done. And of course quenched, pickled, and back to the sandpaper again, starting with 180 grit, nice and wet, and then I think I moved to some 220. And basically what happens at this point is that you're sanding off the solder joints, and what happens is that it magically suddenly looks like it's one piece of silver. You can't see the joints anymore at all. I wouldn't consider this the final polish because that will happen later, but you want to get it nice and even. takes a little bit of time, but it's not too bad. And once you want to get rid of as many of the blemishes as you can. It's very satisfying when something looks all nice and clean and like one piece of silver, as I mentioned. So at this point, I'm using a rough needle file to give a bit of a key on the inside of the ring, because when I glue things on, it'll be much stronger. So here, as you can see, I'm whacking some of the turquoise stones I bought, and this is where I think one of the biggest parts of my learning curve was, because I didn't know really what it was going to be like to inlay the stone. So this is my setup for actually putting in the turquoise. I've crushed some turquoise. I've got some brass filings here, which I think will be a lovely combination. I've got resin, UV resin, and I've stolen my wife's gel nail UV lamp, which I hope will do the business. Anyway, we'll find out. So basically, I'm going to start applying some resin, applying some turquoise, a bit of this and that, and do it bit by bit, very slowly, very carefully. And if I have to crush up some more turquoise, I will. Okay, now it's time to apply the inlay. And I put some of the resin. By the way, very important to wear gloves. This resin is a little bit noxious and won't do your skin any good. So please wear gloves while you're using this stuff. And I'm applying little bits of stone and little bits of brass, and I'm really no idea what I'm doing. I'm just playing with it, giving it my best shot. It's tricky because your tweezers get a bit of resin on it, and blah blah, as you can imagine. But anyway, I just kept going, trying. Some of the bits I had were too big, so I chose smaller ones. I think if I did this again, I would be actually much more careful about my selection of stone size, as you'll see from the finished product. But anyway, it's just a repetitive process. And when I finished a small bit, I put it under my wife's nail UV light, which worked very well and did the job perfectly, actually. So I tested every time and it was nice and cured. And basically you just go round and round like this. You get the picture, and add some brass to fill the gaps. Now, once it's all cured, and I left it under light for quite a long time under the UV light, and here I'm using a file on the mandrel, as you can see, with a rocking motion, so that I'm not getting any flat bits, and just starting to file away so that it all becomes level. And one of the things you'll see when you're doing this, that it exposes the gaps you may have left in the ring. So here I have put more resin on, put more brass, more turquoise, and then I have moved it to this very, very amateurish mandrel I made out of a piece of aluminium I turned on the lathe with loads of plumber's tape. Anyway, you know what? It does the job. But you can see that it's going to take a while to get some of this debris off. But eventually you get there, and you use lots and lots of sandpaper, and now I'm literally just moving up the grits. So I think this one's an 800. And that's very satisfying, because suddenly you can see the ring appear when all the excess brass and stone has been removed, and the silver starts to really shine. It's a very satisfying moment, I have to say. But it also exposes the learning curve, as I described. I mean, I think I should have been much more assiduous with the amount of turquoise I was using, and had less brass filling, shall we say. But you learn, and it's by doing it that you learn. And now I'm on 3000 grit paper, and once you take that off, you can see that you're starting to get a very, very nice shine. And that's pretty much the outside of the ring done, really. It's all very level, couple of tiny little gaps, but I'll live with those. Again, lesson learned. And time to move on to the inside of the ring. It's still a bit rough around the edges when you put it on. So I'm using this my Dremel to smooth the edges and polish the inside a bit. I was very careful not to over polish the inside. In fact, I left a little bit of the solder joint showing, for the simple reason that it was getting a bit loose on my finger. And I'd rather have a little bit of solder joint showing. I mean, again, I'm not selling this, it's for me. Finally, more sanding, because the last bit is to really carefully polish the edges, the sides, I should say, for the final polish. And it was really the last lap, really. Again, I sanded the edges up to 3,200 grit, I think, or 3,000 grit, I can't quite remember. But it achieves quite a nice polish, and here it is. And as I say, far from perfect, and you know, the next girl will be better, but you know what, it's a pretty ring, and I like it, and the brass comes out really well. I really like that mixture of the turquoise and the brass. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and bearing with me.